All right, so is overthinking good for business or is overthinking bad for business? Well, I wanted to do a video explaining to you of some of the dilemmas that a lot of entrepreneurs when they first get started, and I can attest because this is something that happened to me as well, is that we have a tendency to overthink the process to start a business, overthink or overanalyze too much before we actually take action on doing something with an idea. And many of the clients that I've done consulting with over the past 5 or 6 years now, I've done over 800 small businesses that I've actually helped to launch food businesses. Many of the clients, and it's okay, just many of the clients tell me, hey, I ask them, so how far are you along in starting your business? And they say, well, I'm actually still planning and planning. And I said, well, what's the time frame? How long have you been planning? How long have you been thinking about it? And they tell me 8 to 9 months. And I almost drop the phone because the one thing that will stifle and that will keep entrepreneurship at bay, will keep you from starting a business, will stop you dead in your tracks, is the idea of overthinking, overanalyzing, overplanning, even. All of these things do come into play with the overthinking process. If you're planning a food product, if you're planning a food business, if you're planning an e-commerce business, yes, don't get me wrong, there is a lot to know and a lot to do in launching a new business. But I think a lot of entrepreneurs, unfortunately, have a tendency to complicate the process of starting a business. It really isn't that difficult to start a business. And I know that there's probably a lot of you say, well, Damien, you must think that it was easy to do. No, it's not a matter of it being easy or hard. It's just, I'm talking about the launching of the business, the starting of it doesn't have to be so analytical. You don't need to plan out and know every single thing that could potentially go wrong or go right, because that's not reality. So the idea that I normally tell most of my clients is this. When I started my business, I had different motives. The motive that I had for starting my business was for survival because my wife and I had let go from our job. And at that time, we just needed to launch a business to make income. So I was going to do whatever it took to make it work. Failure or not working out was not an option. So what I did is I said, you know what? It's going to be food related business. I'm really good at baked goods and making pastries and doing sandwiches because I have done that so long through college and working for other businesses. I already had experience doing that. So that's why we opened our Italian bakery. So I basically I didn't know how to open an Italian bakery. I knew how to work for companies that had businesses, but running my own, I didn't. But it didn't scare me. It got me excited because then I started asking all the questions I needed to ask. But the planning aspect, the video that I'm doing right now is specifically about the overthinking. I just didn't even have time to sit there and think about it or plan it. I needed to open a business, get the equipment that I needed, find out who I can buy it from, getting the licenses, getting the insurance, but that's the message I'm trying to convey is that when you sit down and you want to come up with a business idea or product, do that. Get a piece of paper and pen, write it down, make it simple. Okay. Pick 4 or 5 different things that you might want to do. But once you've done that, don't overanalyze it. Don't try to do so much market research or market analysis on all this nonsense because you're going to procrastinate and procrastination is going to turn into frustration. And once frustration sets in, you're not going to pursue that business. I can guarantee you. I would put $100 down right now saying that if you spend more than 3 or 4 months planning and planning and planning, you're procrastinating because you still might have an element of fear that's going to keep you back. And then that's okay. But there has to come a point when that idea of doing something is no longer an idea. You're going to take some action, meaning you need to take yourself and go down to your local business development office and get your business license. That's taking action to do it. Find out what type of food business insurance policy you need. Buy the policy. Get going. Once you do these things, once you make these small steps, and you might think they're trivial or not, but they're not. They're very simple things, but they're very powerful in the idea of motivating you to go forward with your business. No matter what type of business you do, it doesn't even have to be food related. But if you spend too many months planning and trying to overanalyze what could go wrong, and you know what, it's a lot of money. I don't know. You simply need to take the chance and you need to take the action to make it start and to make it get going. And whatever it is that you need to do that, that's what you need to do. But overthinking and putting yourself too far out into the future, you're going to eliminate a lot of that power and a lot of that momentum you have today at this very moment. And like with anything, even within life, I mean, you have to look at the day that you've got. The momentum you have today is the only momentum you've got. You've already done with your yesterday, and tomorrow doesn't exist. that's something that I even teach my kids. Is I said, stop thinking so much about tomorrow, because there's no such thing as tomorrow. You only really truly have today, and you've got the moment. And over the next few hours, and the day continues to go, then it becomes tomorrow. But at the end of the day, you can't do anything in tomorrow, and you can't do anything in the past. So wherever you are right at this very moment, that's the momentum you need to keep, and that's where you need to start from. But don't spend so much time over analyzing and trying to project out what you think is going to happen. Because the thing about entrepreneurship is that it's a road that continues to twist and turn no matter where you go. You're going to constantly be changing and evolving. You're going to be pivoting. If your business isn't selling this product very well, but you have a potential to sell that product, you're going to pivot in some other new direction. Whatever it is that you decide to do as far as the business itself, you want to know that it's always going to be changing. So the idea that you're going to sit down and map out everything, and you're going to overthink, you're going to keep thinking until you can get it right, and then you're going to get up from your chair and make some action and go and get a business license, and then start the e-commerce website or build out a website. Once you have everything figured out, there is no such thing. It doesn't exist. The idea of having everything figured out in entrepreneurship is a lie. It doesn't happen. There's even you're looking at the most successful Dell computers. You're looking at people, the Microsofts of the world, the Facebooks of the world. All of these companies constantly are evolving and changing. They never just sat down before they started and they all had it mapped out perfectly. So don't overthink the process. Don't complicate it by overthinking it. Simply start with what you have, with what you know, and then from that point, it'll give you the momentum you need to move forward. Because if you stay stagnant long enough, then that's simply just basically procrastination. And you're not going to start a business. I mean, let's just face it. You're going to still work at that job, and you're going to still complain about your situation. You're still going to be unhappy and not motivated. And basically, your life is going to be something that you're not going to wish you could have made a decision to do better with by starting a business for yourself, because then you can make as much money as you want. You can enjoy it. You can enjoy the challenge. You can enjoy the process. You can enjoy all those other things that come along with it. But remember, if you're 5 or 6 months into planning and you still haven't taken any action, you need to put the pen and pad down. You need to get up and actually do something. A lot of the talking about it and the ideas and thinking, and I have this big dream and all that stuff, those things don't manifest without you doing something about it. You have to take physical action on top of your ideas. Ideas on pad and on a paper sound great, but that's about as far as they're going to go. So don't overthink it. Don't complicate it. Businesses are not very difficult to start. Trust me. The biggest challenge is the motivation that you need to push yourself to get up every day. And even if you're working a full-time job, I've even been there. When we started, when I was going to school full-time, I had 2 full-time jobs. I was working like crazy. But the idea is that whatever time you have during the day and you want to start a business, you need to figure out how to work that into the schedule. But you have to push yourself to do it. Starting up the business is not difficult. It's the motivation and the prolonged motivation that's going to take in the long run to maintain it and grow it and scale it. That's going to be the challenge, because a lot of people falter and they fall to the side and they wayside and they just don't end up doing it, or they keep planning 9 months or even a year down the road. One client that I had, I think he said that he was a couple of years in the planning process, and I'm not trying to laugh at the gentleman. And that's not at all what I'm trying to say. I kind of giggle, because that much process of planning and such, it just becomes procrastination and nothing will ever happen. So if you've got an idea for your business, definitely just stop overthinking it. Don't overanalyze everything, and don't analyze it too much to the point where it's going to keep you from actually starting. Just get up and start. You're not going to have all the answers on the first day, and you're going to always be evolving. So if that was helpful, do give me a thumbs up. If you have had experience with overthinking or something, let us know down below. How did you overcome that? How did you actually stop the thinking process and actually start doing? And like I said, there's nothing wrong with the idea of planning. Planning is good. Understanding where you might want to go is good. But when you're months and months into it, or a couple of years into it, I can guarantee you're not going to start. So I'll see you guys in the next video.